50 Cent has been working on this documentary for almost 2 years. The footage he has is insane. The people he got speaking about Diddy is ridiculous. And on top of that, the only place he agrees to do the interview, Rob, if you can show this, he goes and interviews with ABC. And there's an Instagram post he put up, Rob. I don't know if you have that or not. If you go on his Instagram account, he goes and does the interview about Diddy's documentary on ABC.
We have to talk about Tupac, which I wasn't committed to, but then I watched the doc. So
didn't know you were getting that.
You have a lot of people saying stuff in there that makes it sound like maybe he was responsible for that murder. Which has never been proven. That's a very serious thing.
But you have PPD and over in Vegas now, getting ready to go on trial for that case, saying those things.
Who shot Tupac?
I already know who shot. I believe in karma. I believe in all of that.
We are here today to announce the arrest of CPD for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Burn, motherfucker, you deserve to die. Talking about you getting money, but it's funny to me. All you niggas living for me while you fucking with me.
Right after I heard Tupac got shot, and I was so weak, I damn near fell over. I immediately flew to Vegas, and I walked in the room, and I seen him laid out on the bed with all kind of tools in him. And his mom came over to me, and she grabbed me, she held me up, and she said, "Baby, you got to be strong." And I went and sat next to him and whispering to him, telling him I loved him and to hold on, and he was gonna be okay. And even in that moment, his mom was thinking more about me than herself and showing me how to love strong.
I told you you can't trust these. Now, Puffy done kill Tupac, man.
50 Cent went on stage last year and said this.
Maybe I said it because he got Tupac.
You know, and I know, that everyone believes that Diddy was involved in both these shootings and had a direct involvement in your brother's death. That is what the streets have said for 27 years. That's why 50 Cent said it. That's why Eminem has said similar stuff. Would you be comfortable saying that you believe Diddy had nothing to do with it?
No, I wouldn't be comfortable saying that because I don't know. If you look at all the theories, the theory involving him is quite high on the list.
Ron, any comments? Any comments on the trial so far? Any opening statements?
He's having his day.
He's having his day?
He's having his day. We trust the justice system.
Thank you, sir.
You think you've heard every Tupac twist by now, but this one is hitting different because 50 Cent is no longer laughing it off. After watching a Tupac documentary that's lighting up timelines, 50 is finally speaking in a way fans swear they've never heard before. Not because he's confirming anything, but because the way he reacts makes people feel like there's a bigger story hiding in plain sight. And here's the part that has everyone frozen. The documentary doesn't just revisit old rumors, it drags back names people thought would never be said out loud again. It hints at tensions, quiet alliances, and those long whispered claims that still make the hip-hop world uncomfortable. And when cameras catch 50 Cent's face as those scenes play, fans say it looks like a man doing math in his head, trying to decide what he can say and what he absolutely can't. Then the internet does what it always does. Clips get chopped, captions get wild, comments turn into courtroom arguments. Some people are screaming, "This changes everything," while others are saying, "Stop spreading stories you can't prove." And right in the middle of it all, a family already carrying decades of grief is suddenly pulled back into the spotlight, again. So the real question isn't, what's true? The real question is, why is this all coming back right now? And why does 50 Cent look like he knows exactly where this road leads? Interview 426:439. The moment the documentary finished rolling, the room felt heavier than anyone expected. The screen went black, but the energy didn't fade with it. People sitting around 50 Cent noticed he didn't jump into jokes or sarcasm like usual. Instead, he leaned back, silent, jaw tight, eyes fixed somewhere past the walls. Fans would later say this was the first sign that something about what he watched had landed deeper than entertainment. Not because it
heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind taking out
proved anything, but because it reopened conversations everyone thought were buried for good. The documentary itself didn't accuse anyone outright. It played like a slow burn, revisiting old moments, old interviews, old emotions that never really healed. Voices from the past echoed through the screen, reminding viewers how chaotic that era was, how fast rumors spread, and how fear often moved quicker than facts. And as the story unfolded, it kept circling back to the same idea that history never really closes a chapter. It just waits for the right moment to reopen it. When 50 finally spoke, he didn't come out swinging. He didn't point fingers. Instead, he questioned the timing. He wondered out loud why certain stories resurface only when a new generation is ready to hear them. That alone was enough to send fans into a frenzy.
Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Biggs and Bad Boy in image. I get around, talked about how fly you was, how many girls you mess with, how many cars you drive, how much money you got, what you willing to do. He took his image. Pac was the first one on the scene wearing Versace shirts. He went and got the same Versace shirts Pac had. Which, all right, some dudes would do that. You would never catch me wearing something else, something that somebody else got. He was knocking down all the women that he thought Pac was knocking down. And what I mean is having sex with them. Why would you want to have sex with women you know for sure a dude that was once cool with you?
Some heard caution in his voice, others heard frustration, and a few swore they heard regret. Social media exploded with clips of his reaction, slowed down, replayed, analyzed frame by frame, as if his silence said more than words ever could. People close to him described the mood as reflective, almost uncomfortable. One person in the room said it felt like watching someone revisit a place they survived but never truly escaped. The documentary reminded him
serious the Vegas PD is going to take this case because Keefe D is people that he name dropped that you want to see if they're going to investigate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm curious to see how they plan to deal with the case, because he, in his own admissions, mentions other people. You know, are they going to say what happened to these people? Yes, Puffy being one of them. I don't know where that's going to lead, but I do believe there were accomplices, and I don't think all of them have been looked at. So, you know, because over the years, you know, it's a lot of years, you know, amongst the family, we talk, we want to figure it out too. We thinking certain things too. So, you know, we're waiting to see if we can trust this process. I feel like it's bigger because I haven't heard anything about that part of the story from the prosecutor's office. I haven't heard anything about Puffy from the prosecutor's office, even though Keefe D implicates him on these videos that they claim they're using to indict him. Even you got a Crip affiliate from somewhere, but you still not gonna talk about the guy that he mentions by name on the thing? Yeah, I mean, you know, it's exhausting. You know, or you know, I'm waiting to see how far they go, because that's what everybody's talking about. That's what everybody's talking about. What about Puffy? You know, so it would be weird that the prosecutor's office wouldn't know and address it. That's why I don't know whether to trust this shit or not.
And everyone else watching, that Tupac wasn't just a headline or a symbol. He was a real person surrounded by real conflicts, egos, loyalty tests, and choices that spiraled beyond anyone's control. That reminder alone hit harder than any accusation could. As soon as news of 50 Cent's reaction spread, fans took
so many conflicting stories, right? You got some people that say that, you know, Tupac was moving in the hospital, he was, you know, talking in the hospital, but you being there, from your point of view, how was Tupac conditioned?
By the time I got there, remember I was coming from LA, so by the time I got there, he had tubes in his throat, in his nose, in his mouth. So he ain't talk to me, not verbally. He was conscious. He was trying to talk. He did want to talk, but he didn't actually verbalize any words. Always, you know, that's gonna be one of the biggest mysteries in my life, because he was trying to tell me something. He was trying so hard. He was shaking the bed. He was looking at me, you know, with his big old eyes, you know, and I know he was trying to tell me something, but I don't know.
Something else I want to ask you, because I think it would be appropriate before we get off the Vegas thing, last thing, because I know I did an interview with Napoleon, and they all gave me their reasons why Afeni pulled the plug because of his condition, but I mean, it would be more appropriate since you was his brother. Afeni, her decision to pull the plug on him, from your point of view, what made her pull the plug, respectfully?
Because he had already flatlined a couple of times. And she didn't want him to keep going through that. So I think it was like twice before she, you know, let him go. And that's reasonable. You know what I mean? When I was, you know.
Besides, some praised him for being measured, saying it showed growth and maturity. Others accused him of holding back, of knowing more than he was willing to say. Comments flooded in, arguing over every pause in his speech, every half sentence he chose not to finish. Emotions ran high because for many fans, this story is personal. Tupac's legacy feels like something that belongs to them, and any hint that there's more to uncover feels both thrilling and painful. Meanwhile, those connected to Tupac's family were once again pulled back into the spotlight. They didn't release statements confirming or denying anything. Instead, they spoke about exhaustion. Decades later, they are still asked to relive the same moments, answer the same questions, and sit with the same grief. Friends of the family said the documentary stirred emotions that never truly settled, reopening wounds that time never fully healed. The family was left divided between those who want answers and those who just want peace. Behind the scenes, industry insiders began whispering again, not about proof, but about pressure. They talked about how the music world back then was built on alliances that shifted overnight, where loyalty could disappear the moment success changed hands. They reminded everyone that rivalries were amplified by money, media, and fear, creating an atmosphere where stories grew bigger than the truth itself. Hearing those voices again made many fans realize how
little outsiders truly understood about that era. Interview 702-919. 50 Cent addressed those whispers carefully. He spoke about how narratives can become dangerous when people forget the difference between discussion and declaration. He emphasized that watching a documentary doesn't equal uncovering facts, but it does force conversations people avoided for years. That statement alone became a headline, with fans debating whether he was defending himself, the culture, or the truth itself. The ambiguity kept the story alive, feeding curiosity rather than closing it. As the days passed, reactions kept escalating. Reaction videos popped up everywhere, each creator claiming a new angle, a new interpretation, a new hidden meaning. Some fans claimed the documentary was irresponsible, while others argued it was necessary. Emotions clashed in comment sections that felt more like battlegrounds than discussions. Everyone wanted to be heard, and everyone believed their version of the story mattered most. In private conversations, people close to 50 said he was aware of the storm his words had stirred. He reported that sometimes silence is mistaken for guilt, when in reality it's self-control. He didn't want to turn speculation into something permanent. That mindset frustrated fans who wanted fireworks, but it also earned respect from those who understood the weight of speaking carelessly about real lives and real losses. The documentary's impact kept spreading beyond music circles. Casual viewers who weren't alive during that era started asking questions, discovering how deep the rabbit hole went. For them, this wasn't nostalgia, it was a mystery unfolding in real time. Seeing a figure like 50 Cent react with restraint made it feel more serious, more real, as if the past had suddenly stepped into the present. Interview 937-1112. By the end of the week, one thing was clear. No truths had been confirmed, no final answers delivered. But the silence had been broken in a different way. Conversations were happening again, emotions were surfacing again, and the legacy of Tupac was once more at the center of a storm that refused to fade. The story didn't feel finished, but it didn't feel unresolved either. It felt like a chapter that naturally flowed forward, carrying everything that came before it without forcing a pause, as if the past and present were now moving together in the same direction. The documentary didn't end with a bang. It ended with a kind of silence that makes people uneasy. When the final scene faded out, the room stayed quiet longer than usual. 50 Cent didn't laugh, didn't crack a joke, didn't reach for his phone. People around him noticed it immediately. It was the kind of pause that tells you something landed harder than expected. Not because it revealed facts, but because it dragged memories back to the surface that were never fully buried. What the documentary did differently was its tone. It didn't scream accusations. It didn't declare winners or villains. Instead, it walked slowly through old footage, old interviews, and familiar voices that sounded heavier with age. It reminded viewers how tense that era really was, how fast situations escalated, and how rumors became currency in a culture fueled by competition. Watching it felt less like entertainment and more like reopening a box everyone agreed to keep sealed. 50 Cent's reaction became a story on its own. When he finally spoke, his words were measured, careful, almost restrained. He talked about timing, about how certain stories resurface when the climate feels right. That alone sent fans into overdrive. Some heard warning in his voice, others heard frustration. A few insisted there was disappointment hiding between his sentences. Suddenly, every word he chose not to say mattered more than the ones he did. Online, clips of his reaction spread fast. Slowed down videos, zoomed in expressions, captions filled with speculation. Fans dissected his body language as if it were evidence. Emotions ran high because this wasn't just about music history. For many people, Tupac represents something personal. His story feels unfinished, and any hint of new discussion feels like both hope and pain colliding at the same time. People close to 50 described his mood as reflective. One source said it felt like watching someone revisit a place they survived but never truly left. The documentary didn't just show conflicts, it showed how heavy the environment was back then. Loyalty was fragile, pressure was constant, and success came with consequences no one fully understood at the time. Seeing all of that again reminded everyone how thin the line was between fame and chaos. As reactions poured in, fans split into camps. One side praised 50 for being responsible, saying he understood the weight of speaking on something that still hurts real people. The other side accused him of holding back, convinced he knew more than he was letting on. Comment sections turned
into debates that felt more like arguments, each side convinced their interpretation was the right one. The documentary also pulled Tupac's family back into public discussion. They didn't rush to the spotlight. Instead, people close to them spoke about fatigue. Decades later, they are still asked to relive the same moments, answer the same questions, and sit with the same grief. The family was left divided between wanting clarity and wanting peace. That tension added another emotional layer to a story already heavy with loss. Industry insiders quietly began talking again, not about proof, but about atmosphere. They spoke about how the music world back then thrived on rivalry, how alliances shifted overnight, and how fear often dictated behavior. They reminded people that many decisions made in that era were reactions, not plans. Hearing those perspectives made fans realize how little outsiders truly understood about what was happening behind the scenes. 50 Cent addressed those whispers carefully. He spoke about how narratives can grow larger than reality when people confuse discussion with declaration. He stressed that watching a documentary doesn't equal uncovering truth, but it does force conversations people avoided for years. That line alone became a headline, shared and reshared with wildly different interpretations attached to it. Reaction videos multiplied by the hour. Creators claimed hidden meanings, secret signals, and overlooked details. Some argued the documentary was irresponsible. Others said it was overdue. Emotions clashed everywhere. It became clear that people weren't just reacting to the film, they were reacting to decades of unresolved feelings tied to it. In private, those close to 50 said he was fully aware of the storm his reaction created. He reportedly said silence is often mistaken for guilt when it can simply be restraint. He didn't want speculation to harden into something permanent. That choice frustrated fans craving dramatic statements, but it also earned respect from those who understood the consequences of careless words. As the days went on, the impact spread beyond hardcore fans. Younger viewers who didn't live through that era started asking questions, discovering how deep the story ran. For them, this wasn't nostalgia. It felt like a mystery unfolding in real time. Seeing someone like 50 Cent react with caution made it feel serious, almost fragile, as if the past had stepped directly into the present. By the end of the week, no truths had been confirmed and no answers delivered. But something had shifted. The silence that once surrounded these conversations was gone. People were talking again, feeling again, remembering again. It didn't feel like the end of a chapter. It felt like a natural continuation, carrying everything forward without forcing a pause, as if the story itself refused to stop where people once thought it had ended. As the conversation kept growing, the focus slowly shifted from the documentary itself to the ripple effects it was creating. What surprised people most was how quickly familiar names started trending again, not because of new evidence, but because old stories suddenly felt fresh. Fans were shocked by how a single reaction could reopen years of speculation without proving anything at all. It was like watching a dormant storm wake up simply because the air pressure changed. Inside music circles, reactions were mixed. Some artists from that era stayed quiet, choosing distance over commentary. Others hinted at discomfort, saying off the record that they were tired of being pulled back into moments they had worked hard to survive. Emotions ran high behind closed doors. People remembered how alliances back then weren't just business moves, they were survival choices. Every decision carried weight, and every misstep could spiral out of control. The documentary scenes kept circulating, especially the ones that showed tense interviews and uneasy pauses. Viewers noticed how often people avoided direct answers, how carefully words were chosen. That alone fueled discussion. Fans began saying that the truth might not be hidden in what was said, but in what was avoided. Speculation grew louder, even though no one was making direct claims. The absence of certainty became the center of the drama. 50 Cent found himself at the heart of that storm, whether he wanted it or not. Every appearance he made after that was watched closely. People analyzed his tone, his posture, even his expressions when certain topics came up. When asked directly about the documentary again, he didn't escalate. He repeated that conversations don't equal conclusions. To some fans, that sounded like wisdom. To others, it sounded like deflection. The divide kept growing. Meanwhile, fans of Tupac reacted emotionally. For many, this wasn't entertainment, it felt personal. Messages flooded forums and social platforms from people sharing how Tupac's music helped them through their own struggles. Seeing his story debated again stirred a mix of pride, sadness, and anger. Some felt protective, insisting that his legacy shouldn't be reduced to endless speculation. Others argued that asking questions is the only way history stays honest. Family friends tried to calm the noise, reminding people that grief doesn't expire. They spoke about how revisiting these moments reopens wounds that never fully healed. They stressed that documentaries can inform, but they can also exhaust those closest to the pain. The family was left divided, not over facts, but over how much of the past should be reopened for public consumption. Industry veterans added another layer to the conversation. They talked about how media attention back then worked differently, how rumors traveled without the instant correction of social media. Once a narrative took hold, it became almost impossible to undo. Hearing that perspective made younger viewers realize how easily speculation could become accepted truth in a pre-digital era. It also explained why so many people still tread carefully today. As debates continued, fans started revisiting old interviews and lyrics, searching for hidden meanings. Lines were quoted out of context, moments were stitched together, and theories multiplied. Some of them contradicted each other entirely, but that didn't slow anything down. The drama thrived on uncertainty. The more unanswered questions there were, the more engagement the story generated. 50 Cent addressed that behavior indirectly. He spoke about how easy it is to rewrite history when emotions outweigh facts. He warned that people sometimes confuse curiosity with conviction. His words sounded calm, but they carried frustration. He seemed aware that once speculation takes off, it rarely stops on its own. That awareness didn't silence the noise, but it changed how some fans listened. Behind the scenes, conversations grew tense. People worried about how far the narrative might go and who it might pull in next. No one wanted to be the next name trending without context. The memory of how fast things once escalated lingered in the background, shaping how cautiously people moved. Even silence felt strategic. For casual viewers, the story became less about answers and more about atmosphere. They were drawn into the emotional weight of it all, the tension, the pauses, the careful wording. It felt like watching a slow-burning drama where the biggest moments happened between the lines. That feeling kept them watching, commenting, and sharing, even when nothing concrete was revealed. As days turned into weeks, the discussion refused to fade. Every new clip, every reaction, every rumor added another layer. Some fans started to feel overwhelmed, saying the cycle of speculation was exhausting. Others leaned into it, convinced that persistence would eventually uncover something meaningful. The split grew deeper, mirroring the unresolved nature of the story itself. What stood out most was how the documentary and 50 Cent's response had shifted the narrative without changing the facts. Nothing new was proven, yet everything felt different. Conversations that once felt forbidden were now mainstream again. Emotions that had been tucked away resurfaced. The past didn't just return, it blended into the present, creating a space where questions mattered more than answers, and where the story continued moving forward, carried naturally by everything that had already been said and felt. As the discussion kept stretching forward, something subtle but powerful started to happen. The tone around the story shifted from curiosity to tension. Fans were no longer just asking questions, they were choosing sides. Some insisted the documentary was simply revisiting history, while others felt it was stirring emotions that never needed to be touched again. Emotions ran high because everyone watching brought their own memories, beliefs, and attachments into the conversation. Inside the industry, the silence from certain figures became just as loud as the commentary from others. People noticed who stayed quiet and who carefully stepped around the topic. That silence was interpreted in 100 different ways. Some fans said it showed respect, others claimed it showed fear. Once again, absence of words became its own form of drama, fueling theories that no one could fully control. 50 Cent remained steady in the middle of it all. He didn't escalate, but he didn't retreat either. In one quiet moment, he spoke about how fame freezes moments in time, forcing people to relive the same chapters over and over while the rest of the world moves on. That statement struck a nerve. Fans read it as a reminder that while the audience debates, the people involved carry the weight of those memories every day. Tupac's legacy became the emotional core of the storm.
Fans revisited his interviews, his speeches, his energy. They talked about how alive he still feels through his words, and how
painful it is that his story remains unresolved. Many said the documentary didn't just reopen questions, it reopened admiration, reminding them why his voice mattered so much in the first place. That admiration made the speculation feel heavier, almost sacred. Family reactions stayed cautious. People close to them emphasized that they weren't chasing headlines, they were protecting peace. They spoke about how every new wave of attention brings strangers debating deeply personal pain. The family was left divided between wanting the world to understand their loss and wanting the world to stop dissecting it. That internal conflict mirrored the larger debate playing out online. Media coverage added fuel without adding clarity. Headlines focused on reactions, not revelations. Phrases like "fans are shocked" and "emotions ran high" appeared everywhere, even though no new information had surfaced. The cycle fed itself. Attention created pressure, pressure created more discussion, and discussion created even more attention. The story became bigger than the documentary that started it. Younger audiences added a new dynamic. For them, this wasn't a reopened wound, it was a discovery. They approached the story with curiosity instead of exhaustion. They asked questions older fans were tired of answering. That generational gap caused friction, with longtime fans accusing newcomers of treating real loss like entertainment, while younger viewers argued that history deserves to be explored openly. 50 Cent addressed that gap carefully. He spoke about how every generation experiences stories differently, and how context gets lost when time passes. He warned against turning complexity into certainty just to satisfy curiosity. Those words calmed some viewers while frustrating others who wanted firmer statements. Once again, his restraint became part of the narrative. Behind closed doors, industry conversations grew more cautious. People worried about how quickly speculation could spiral into accusations. Memories of how fast things once escalated lingered. No one wanted history to repeat itself in a new form. That fear influenced how carefully everyone moved, how deliberately they chose words, and how often they chose silence instead. Fans continued dissecting details. They compared timelines, analyzed expressions, and replayed interviews. Some of these discussions contradicted each other completely, but that didn't slow the momentum. The drama wasn't driven by answers, it was driven by emotion. Uncertainty became the engine keeping the story alive. What made this phase different was the emotional fatigue setting in. Some fans admitted they felt drained. They loved Tupac's legacy, but they were tired of watching it become a cycle of speculation. Others argued that fatigue was the point, that unresolved stories are uncomfortable by nature. That disagreement deepened the divide, making consensus impossible. 50 Cent's role evolved into something unexpected. He became less of a commentator and more of a symbol. To some, he represented responsibility and caution. To others, he represented missed opportunity and withheld truth. Neither side could fully claim him, and that ambiguity kept him central to the story without him needing to say much at all. As weeks passed, the documentary itself almost faded into the background. The reactions, debates, and emotional responses took center stage. The story no longer belonged to the filmmakers or even the people on screen. It belonged to the audience, reshaped by every comment, every reaction video, and every argument across platforms. By this point, it was clear that no single statement could close the conversation. The past had woven itself into the present too tightly. The drama continued not because of revelations, but because of unresolved feelings that refused to settle. The narrative moved forward naturally, carrying the weight of everything said so far, without stopping, without breaking, flowing straight into the next chapter of discussion and tension that was already forming in the background. As the noise slowly reached its peak, something unexpected happened. The conversation stopped being about uncovering anything new, and started becoming about how people felt watching it all unfold. Fans began admitting that the real shock wasn't the documentary or 50 Cent's reaction, but how strongly everyone responded to something that didn't actually change the facts. It exposed how unresolved stories live differently in different people. Some longtime fans stepped back and reflected. They talked about how this cycle has repeated itself for years. A new interview, a new documentary, a new reaction, and then the same arguments all over again. They questioned whether the constant revisiting was helping anyone heal or simply keeping wounds open. Emotions ran high because there was no clear right answer. Wanting truth and wanting peace don't always exist together. Others leaned in harder. They
believed the renewed attention mattered, even if it brought discomfort. To them, silence felt like forgetting, and forgetting felt like disrespect. They argued that stories this influential should never be closed just because time has passed. That belief fueled even more discussion, keeping the narrative alive without needing any new trigger. 50 Cent watched this unfold with visible awareness. He acknowledged that once a story becomes part of culture, it stops belonging to just one person. Everyone carries a piece of it. He spoke about responsibility, about how words travel farther now than ever before, and how easy it is for commentary to turn into something heavier than intended. His tone stayed calm, but there was a sense that he understood exactly how fragile the situation was. Tupac's presence felt almost haunting through it all. His voice, his words, his energy continued to echo through clips, quotes, and memories shared online. Fans talked about how alive he still feels, how his impact refuses to fade. That connection made the debate emotional rather than analytical. This wasn't history for many people. It was identity, inspiration, and loss all mixed together. Family friends tried once more to shift focus toward legacy rather than speculation. They encouraged people to remember the music, the message, and the influence, rather than chasing conclusions that may never come. Some fans listened. Others felt that honoring legacy also means confronting uncomfortable questions. The family was left divided in the same way the audience was, caught between remembrance and exhaustion. Media coverage eventually began to slow, but the conversations didn't disappear. They simply became quieter, more personal. Instead of trending headlines, the discussions moved into comment sections, group chats, and late-night debates. The story settled into a low hum rather than a loud explosion, proving it was never really about shock value alone. What stood out most by the end was how little certainty anyone gained, and how much emotion everyone revealed. The documentary didn't solve a mystery, and 50 Cent didn't confirm or deny anything, yet the impact was undeniable. People felt heard, triggered, validated, and frustrated all at once. The lack of answers forced everyone to sit with their own interpretations. For some, that discomfort was the point. Unresolved stories mirror real life, where closure isn't guaranteed. For others, it felt unfair, like reopening a door without offering a way out. That tension stayed in the air, unresolved but acknowledged, shaping how people talked about the story moving forward. 50 Cent eventually shifted attention back to the present, reminding fans that while history matters, so does growth. He hinted that being careful with words is sometimes the strongest statement someone can make. That idea didn't end the debate, but it reframed it. People began questioning not just what was being said, but why they needed certain answers so badly. In the end, the story didn't close with revelation or denial. It settled into something quieter and more complex, a reminder that some chapters in culture never truly end, they just change form. The past stayed connected to the present, not as proof or accusation, but as conversation. And as long as people continue to listen, react, and feel, that conversation keeps moving forward, unfinished yet alive, carried by memory, emotion, and the human need to make sense of what can never be fully explained. Now it's your turn. After everything you've heard, watched, and felt, what do you think this moment really represents? Is this documentary and 50 Cent's reaction about searching for truth, or is it about how stories from the past refuse to stay silent? Fans are clearly divided, and emotions are still running high, which proves one thing for sure. This conversation isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Some people believe reopening these discussions keeps important history alive, while others feel it risks turning real pain into endless speculation. There are no easy answers here, and that's exactly why your voice matters. Everyone watching brings their own perspective, their own memories, and their own connection to the story. Whether you feel shocked, frustrated, reflective, or unsure, your opinion is part of what keeps this discussion honest. If you're still watching, that means the story pulled you in, so don't just sit with those thoughts, share them. Let us know in the comments what stood out to you the most. Was it 50 Cent's restraint, the reactions from fans, or the way this documentary reignited emotions decades later? Do you think some stories should be revisited, no matter how uncomfortable they are, or is there a point where silence becomes necessary? And if you want to keep up with stories like this, where culture, emotion, and controversy collide, make sure you like this video so more people can find it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what
happens next, because conversations like this don't just end, they evolve. Hit the notification bell so you're always part of the discussion when new updates drop. Most importantly, keep the conversation respectful. Behind every headline are real people and real emotions. Speak your truth, listen to others, and remember that not every question has a clear answer. We'll be right here, breaking down the stories everyone's talking about and the ones they're afraid to talk about.